Hello, and welcome to Abnormal Psychology for Spring 2023. We're going to have a few videos here in the orientation this weekend to just kind of get you settled and get you comfortable with the course. And this first one is just going to be us looking at the syllabus together. So you can always find your syllabus over here on the left-hand toolbar, and I'm hoping most of you have found it already. And when you click on that link, you have two documents. You have the syllabus, which is unique to our course and the one we're going to look at carefully. The college policies document, I've separated out all of the information that the college asks us to put on our syllabus. That is the same for all courses. So like, how to withdraw from a course or things like that. And so I've taken those out so that our syllabus is a little bit more streamlined and I think a little bit easier to navigate. So if you click on it, it opens it here. You can download it to your device. You have a copy of it. I'm always going to click on that, and it gets a much nicer view of it. And so we can look at this together. It's going to look really familiar to any other syllabi you've looked at the college because we have a common template. Obviously, our course, I'm sure you know this already, is an asynchronous online course. And what asynchronous means is that we have no scheduled meetings, that all the work is online. And while there are firm due dates for work that we'll talk about, that you can work at 2 a.m., you could work at 2 p.m. When you're doing the work doesn't matter, that you don't have to show up online at any scheduled time. One of the most important things on this first page for you to take a look at is how to get in touch with me. My email is here. My phone number is here. Email is a way better way to reach out to me than phone. If you leave me a message, I actually will get it in my email and I will listen to it. But then calling you back winds up with us playing phone tag. Email is a much better way to get in touch with me. And I always tell students, if you don't get a response from me within 24 hours, especially Monday to Friday, then there's a good chance that I've either missed your email or you mistyped my name or something. Always, plan to follow up with me and, respectfully, politely, but, say, I emailed you yesterday, I haven't heard back from you. And sometimes I do just lose track of emails, not often. I usually do respond to emails pretty quickly. I do check my email a lot, and if I'm on my computer, the email's open. So email is a pretty effective way of communicating. My office, though, is in K601, Kinney Hall, and I do have office hours. And even though we're a completely online class, I do encourage all of you to use my office hours. And don't wait until there's a crisis to use my office hours. I mean, of course you can, but you can use it if there's a crisis. But if there's material you're struggling to understand, if you want to talk about the term paper more, or worried about prepping for an exam and want some advice about that. Those are all, and other reasons as well, but all good reasons to use my office hours. You see them listed here, Tuesdays, and then 3 different times on Wednesday. The daytime hours, so the Tuesday and then the Wednesday at 9 and the Wednesday at 11, I am in my office on campus. And you can come in and see me. You don't need an appointment at those times. You can just pop in as long as another student hasn't already come before you. I'll be happy to meet with you immediately. You can also meet with me virtually during those times. The WebEx link is right here. And the evening hours on Wednesday are only virtual. I won't be in my physical office at that time. For any virtual appointments, though, and any virtual meetings, you're going to need to make an appointment ahead of time, or at least notify me ahead of time, at least an hour before. I'm not going to be sitting with WebEx open during my office hours. So I'm happy to be on, but you'll need to let me know ahead of time that you want to meet with me. It doesn't have to be way ahead of time, but just to give me a heads up so I can log on. Okay. And so again, you use the office hours. It's not just for me, for all your professors. We are going to have required textbook. I think I sent out information about this, prior to the course starting. And you will need to read the textbook. It's an important resource. So if you haven't purchased it yet, go ahead and go to the bookstore or go online. A digital copy is fine if you prefer to do that. A rented copy is fine. You do not need a Wiley Plus access code. So do not spend more money for the Wiley Plus access code unless that's important to you for some reason. We have our learning outcomes here. These do correspond really directly to the kinds of things that we're going to talk about and the kinds of things I'm going to ask you about on exams. And so they are good to take a look at. And then we can talk about earning your grade. So we work on a 1,000-point system. All of my courses do. And all that means is that we are not you're not earning letter grades as we go along in the course. Obviously, this grid, this table, shows you how you'll translate your total points at the end to a letter grade for your transcript. But during the course, you're just earning points. And so the 1,000-point system, for those of you that haven't been in a course with that before, has two real advantages, I think. The first is just transparency. That you're not needing to worry about how much something is weighted and do lots of calculations. It just tells you, you're just always earning points. There's a big bucket of, and you hope to fill that bucket with 1,000 points by the end, or as close to 1,000 as you can. The other advantage of it, I think, is that you keep every point you earn, so that in a traditional course setup, a grading setup, if you got a 50% on an exam, that would not be so great, right? But in a traditional grading system, that would be an F, which would mean you would get no credit for the exam. And it would be as if you didn't take the exam at all, even though you knew 50% of the material. And so in this system, if you know 50% of the material, still not great. You should know much more than 50%. But you keep the 50 points, right? Or however many points 50% represents. And so you do keep all of your points. In terms of getting to the 1,000 points, we have 3 exams during the semester. They're essay exams. They're worth 120 points each. And they have 4 or 5 essay questions on each exam. The day before each exam opens, I will send you those questions. And so you'll have them ahead of time. Decreases your anxiety a little bit, allows you, if you choose, to prep ahead of time in terms of outlining or even writing the answer to the questions, but they will require you to be able to think critically and give examples and really demonstrate that you understand the material that we've been talking about. Each chapter has 2 required discussions. There'll be 2 forums. One that will primarily be small groups. The first chapter is a whole class for that, but after that they will be small groups, and the grade is a group grade. Your participation in the group, because it's happening on a discussion, I can see who's participated, who hasn't, how you've contributed or how you haven't, and so there will be part of that kind of a grade that is kind of a overall grade that is assigned based on what's submitted to me. And one of you in each group will submit something for each of those discussions, just a summary. And I will assign that person each week with a backup in case something goes wrong for that person. So each week, you won't have to decide together. I will say, so, Mary is responsible for submitting this, and John is her backup in case she doesn't. But then whether you earn all of those points, and most of the time, almost all of the time, groups earn full credit for these discussions. That what's submitted to me earns full credit. But then I do look at individual participation. If you didn't participate, you get 0 points. If you only posted once and didn't, you posted something, but you really weren't engaged in a discussion with your classmates, you get partial points. And so your individual engagement will really be the thing that dictates how that small discussion goes. So it's a small discussion more than a small group in that way. It allows you to have a more intimate and more in-depth discussion because there'll be fewer people involved. The second forum is a Muddy's Points forum. You have to ask questions there and answer questions there. So the first thing you'll need to do each week is ask a question about the material for the week, and then later in that same week you need to attempt to answer classmates' questions. Your grade on that is not so much about whether you get it right, so I want you to take risks and say what you think is true, but about how detailed your response is and how much you seem to attempt to answer the question. Okay. There'll also be a term paper. We'll have a separate video about the term paper, so I'm not going to go into that here, but that is a quarter of your grade, 250 points for the class. And so if we go down here to our schedule, you'll see that other than the orientation, we cover a chapter a week. Chapters open on Monday, they close on Sunday, and then you have work due on Thursday and Sunday each week. So Thursday is the midpoint where you have your first posts and you have to start engaging in your small group discussion and post your question for the Muddy's Points discussion, and then your replies to classmates are due by Sunday. So always Thursday, always Sunday. And always, a week per chapter. And so we move through the chapters, very reliably. You'll see that, for example, exam 1 opens on Monday the 20th and is due by Sunday the 26th. You have to go in there one of those days and open the exam and take the exam. It's a timed exam, but you have a large window when you can go in and do that. Looking to see what else. Sorry. What else is on here? We'll talk more about the term paper, but just quickly here, you'll see that, when an exam is, it's listed here in the syllabus. When you have work related to your term paper, and we'll talk about the fact that you do have some preliminary work, that's listed here as well. Okay. The only week we don't have work due is the week before your term papers due. I've given you that week off from chapter work so that you can focus on finishing up your term paper during that time. So hopefully that gives you a good overview. And then the next video will be a short video just showing you the structure of how I've set up Blackboard, and then a video on the term paper.